Welcome to the Health Channel, all health all the time. I'm Laura DeAngelis, coming to you from the Baptist Health South Florida studios in Coral Gables. I am super excited about the hour ahead as we'll be talking about two items I'm extremely passionate about, nutrition and exercise. I'd like to welcome Carla Duenas, who is a registered dietitian, as well as Chantis Mantilla. She is an exercise physiologist and both work with Baptist Health South Florida. Carla and Chantis, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to have you with us today.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. So, as we start our conversation, full disclosure, I hold a couple of fitness certifications and I write a healthy lifestyle blog. And one theme I'm constantly coming back to is that nutrition and exercise go hand in hand. One can fuel the other. Now, you two are the experts here, so please tell me I'm right about this because I really feel that's the case.
Yes, 100% agree. We need nutrition to be able to have energy and exercise. We need carbs, we need protein, we need healthy fats. And same thing when we exercise, it can also help us motivate to make healthier choices in the kitchen.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also food is fuel, right? So when we think about exercising, having the energy, recovering, that healthy food is really the fuel for your fitness and to be stronger and faster.
Okay, good. So we're off to a good start. We agree that nutrition, exercise feed off of each other, so that's a good thing.
Together.
So, all right, so let's take a closer look at nutrition. And Carla, what does it really mean when we say we're trying to follow a healthy diet?
Well, first that I like to point out is eating healthy doesn't mean that you need to eat perfect. That's the first thing. It really just is eating balanced, healthy meals, basically from your 5 food groups. At least you want to try to choose 3 out of the 5 food groups, which are protein, grains, dairy, and fruits and vegetables. So if you try to choose 3 of those for every single meal, that's healthy eating. And hopefully also trying to eat every 3 to 4 hours to keep your energy constant and always with a positive mood. That's basically healthy eating. It's balanced out of all the 5 food groups.
Okay, and I see here too, Carla, we have actually a graphic about some of these nutrition and health tips overall. So anything there you just want to comment on? Or?
Yes, so when we're talking about, for example, supplements or pills that people are always looking to become healthier, they think they need a pill to be healthier, really they should be they should think about food first. That should be the primary source of nutrients. And then supplements have a place in time if it's needed, but it should really be something that is checked or followed up with a physician or a dietitian that can really determine if it's really needed. So supplements are meant to supplement the diet. So it shouldn't be in replacement of a good healthy eating.
Right, exactly. And you know what, we actually have a quick video that we can look at that kind of comments about that with supplements. Here we go.
Emily is thinking about taking a dietary supplement. She knows she should try to get her vitamins and minerals from the food she eats, but she doesn't always have the chance to eat right. And with more than 50,000 dietary supplements on the market, like a lot of other people, Emily has questions, like how much vitamin A is good for you and how much is too much. If something's natural, doesn't it mean it's safe? Can folic acid prevent birth defects? Should we be taking calcium and vitamin D supplements?
So again, that was just kind of a general introduction to what supplements are about. So Carla, again, you kind of touched on this before, but tell us about what supplements are, and I know they come in a lot of different forms, right?
Yes. So supplements are basically ingredients, things like amino acids, vitamins, minerals, herbal products as well, that people take looking to maybe improve performance or just feel better, but they come in different forms, like you said. So we can find liquids, pills, tablets, there's powders, there's bars, there's many different forms of supplements. So I know that it can get confusing when you're looking at that shelf and trying to figure out which one do you need. But the more common ones I would say are multivitamins first, probiotics, vitamin D, for example, protein powders. Those are always trending people that are looking to exercise, starting a healthy exercise habit.
Sure, and we're going to get a little bit more specific as the show goes on, but now that we've kind of gotten the basics about our nutrition, Chantis, I want to turn to you to talk again about exercise, and that's the other important ingredient, as we all agreed earlier, in a healthy lifestyle. But let's break down the basics there, because sometimes when people hear about exercise, they think they have to run out and maybe run a marathon or hike up a mountain, which is not the case. So let's talk about exercise, physical activity, and fitness, those terms that are thrown
Yes.
around all the time. Break those down for us,
Yes,
please.
thank you for introducing that. So all the time we hear, well, physical activity, exercise, fitness, so what are these things? So when you hear the term physical activity, that's just moving your body. Right now I'm moving my arms, when you wake up, brushing your teeth, all of that is movement. So when we talk about exercise, that's a more structured form of physical activity, and it has some key elements to it. So it has a goal, it has time, it has a type, and there's an intensity to it. So exercise is that structured form of movement, right? So when we think about jogging, running, walking, playing sports, that's exercise itself. Now when we talk about fitness, so what is fitness? That's the product, right? So being physically active, exercising, all of that combined builds our fitness and helps us be stronger, faster, more flexible. So those are really the terms that we hear quite often.
Okay, and commenting on that, one important thing I'd like to get right off the bat, do you have to be fit to exercise?
Right, so that's the misconception. So exercise is for everybody. First thing I would say is check with your physician, making sure that you're able and it's safe for you to participate in physical activity. But it's really for everyone, and we want to motivate you to be able to do that. You have to figure out what works for you. Yeah. If someone doesn't like to run, I tell them, why are you running?
I agree.
You know, yeah.
You got to find what works, like you said, for you, and it's
exactly.
all custom made for each person and each body. Now, again, zeroing in right on exercise itself, I know there are different forms, right? You have low, you have moderate, and you have vigorous. And Chantis, I know that, tell us about the levels and kind of the way that we can actually gauge on what kind of output, if you will, we're doing during our workout. How do we differentiate that?
So there's three main categories that we think of. So there's low, there's moderate, and there's vigorous. So another term that we think of is sedentary. That just means inactive time. So that's more on the low end, when you're sitting, when you're sleeping, when you're walking and you're able to belt out Beyonce and sing, that's on the lower end. So when we think about moderate activity and you're speed walking on the elliptical, you should be able to speak with a bit of a challenge, but you shouldn't be able to sing. And with vigorous, it's really like when you're moving and every other word, you have to take a breath and you shouldn't be able to have a full conversation. So this is an easy way, we call it the talk test, to be able to tell where you are on that spectrum. And when we think about it, you want to be more in that moderate, being able to have a conversation, but not belting out that Beyonce.
Oh, yeah. That's great. And the talk test definitely works every time to see what you're doing. So, Carla, we were kind of talking about the different levels of exercise, if you will, and just talk about too, how can supplements, kind of enhance or improve our exercise, just maybe make them better for us?
Well, it really depends on the supplement. If we're talking about exercise and performance specifically, there's another set of supplements that we can find. Protein powders is the one that really comes to mind that people look for example, when trying to gain muscle mass. And this is something that definitely helps. It's been proven to build muscle mass, but it doesn't replace exercise, right? So we see some people taking protein supplements, protein powders, or protein bars, thinking that that's gonna help them build the muscle, when in reality, they need to be doing the exercise at the intensity that they need to be building that muscle mass. But protein is just something to be added onto the diet, not something that it's needed unless if it's for convenience, for example, for some reason they can't eat that protein immediately after lifting weights, then that protein shake, protein powder, or bar, whatever form they choose to eat, is the one that it's going to provide some benefit to help them build that muscle mass.
Absolutely, makes sense. And Chantis, going back to exercise, speaking of, so you take the time to exercise, whether you're taking a walk, going to a fitness class, whatever it might be. We kind of touched on this in the beginning, but again, you're taking the time to do this for your body. You don't want to put junk in your body, which is a machine. So if you have a great machine, you're not going to put junk gas into it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So when we think about exercising, you need to have energy. So if you haven't eaten the proper nutrients that you need, you're not going to have that energy to power through that workout. It doesn't matter how much motivated music you have, you're going to feel depleted. If you're working towards a goal like running a marathon, things like that, you need to follow a nutritional plan that's going to balance that energy that you're exerting, because we are exerting quite a bit of energy when we're exercising. So we want to make sure when you fill that tank that it is healthy food. Yeah.
So something that Chantis just mentioned is also the intensity. The nutrition has to match that intensity, because if a person is running a 5K, for example, do they really need to be eating that many carbs or supplementing with gels and bars? They don't need that. That's just going to be extra calories. But if they're doing a half marathon or an Ironman, then the needs are going to be higher. So if the person's not able to meet them with the food, that's where supplements really come in.
Right, and that's one thing I see at the gym sometimes. Maybe people aren't going crazy on a machine or working out really hard, but they're drinking a lot of sugary drinks with calories, and you think that's just not necessarily what you want to be doing. So sounds like we're all on the same page when it comes to kind of putting the two together to really set up for a healthy lifestyle. And they play off of each other, so which is a great thing. All right, well, we've just started the conversation. We're going to keep this going because there's a lot more that we're going to talk about, because now that we've established this healthy relationship between nutrition and exercise, we can actually focus on the specifics on what you need and just how much. So that's going to be coming up after the break. And anytime, please be sure to visit our website, allhealthallthetime.com. You can submit questions about nutrition and exercise, or email any of the doctors about any health topic, and learn all about the Health Channel here on South Florida PBS. Stay with us. We will be right back.
What we're really talking about when we're encouraging people with arthritis to be more physically active is doing moderate physical activity like walking, swimming, biking that get their heart rate up a little bit or get them breathing a little bit harder.
Aim to do moderate physical activity 5 days a week for 30 minutes a day. Exercising as little as 10 minutes at a time will allow you to achieve the recommended 2.5 hours per week and get real health benefits.
You want to listen to your body so that if you're too sore, a couple hours later you know to cut back, maybe do a little bit less duration or frequency.
It's not running a marathon. It's not the no pain, no gain idea. It really helps reduce some arthritis-specific symptoms like pain, swelling, limitations. Things like fatigue and depression also improve with physical activity.
When it comes to sexual violence, it's important to know the facts. But there are just a few other things you should know. Sexual violence includes rape and any other unwanted sexual contact or experience. About 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual violence in the form of physical contact at some point in their lives. Violence starts early. Before the age of 18, 8.5 million women first experienced rape. Victims of sexual violence can experience depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Sexual violence impacts everyone. Its effects ripple through families, neighborhoods, and workplaces. But we all play a role in its prevention. Public health, businesses, schools, communities, and you can work together to stop sexual violence from happening in the first place.
Enjoying mental health means having a sense of well-being, being able to function during everyday life, and feeling confident to rise to a challenge when the opportunity arises. Just like your physical health, there are actions you can take to increase your mental health. Boost your well-being and stay mentally healthy by following a few simple steps. Connect with others, take time to enjoy, participate and share interest, take care of yourself, challenge yourself, deal with stress, rest and refresh, and ask for help. Contact your primary care physician if you have any questions about your mental health.
In the past 50 years, we've made a lot of progress in smoking prevention. But if we don't do more, 1 out of every 13 children alive today will die early from smoking. That's 5.6 million precious lives we can save. Together, we can make the next generation tobacco-free.
Welcome back to the Health Channel, all health, all the time. I'm Laura DeAngelis, coming to you from the Baptist Health South Florida studios in Coral Gables. And I am here with registered dietitian Carla Duenas and exercise physiologist Chantis Mantilla. Both are from Baptist Health South Florida, and we are so glad that you are both here today. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you again for having
All right,
us.
so let's continue the conversation. Carla, let's again get into the nitty-gritty of supplements. Who might need a supplement? I mean, do we all need them, or what kind of populations might need them? Why?
So it really depends on the type of supplement and the person. So when we look at the population, there are certain people who might need them, like for example, pregnant women. Pregnant women definitely are at a higher need, for example, for folic acid, something that not your standard multivitamin might not have. Men's multivitamins are not going to have that, so they do formulate specific multivitamins for pregnant women. Children also have a higher need for calcium and vitamin D. If they're picky eaters, even more, they're going to need some extra in there. And also the elderly, because as we age, we still need some of the same minerals, but the appetite decreases. So sometimes supplements have a place in there, but I would always recommend to just check with your physician who can test to see if you're deficient. So that's a key there. I'd like for everybody to remember that if there's a deficiency, then there's a need. But everybody doesn't really need a supplement.
Okay, that's good to know. And now the great thing is you've actually brought some examples of some supplements in for us today. So why don't you just kind of show us what you have with you and maybe tell us, who might benefit from these types of supplements.
Great. So I brought here some of the most popular ones. Right here, I have vitamin D, which here in sunny Florida, believe it or not, we are deficient in vitamin D. Vitamin D3, by the way, is the active form of the vitamin, so it's very effective. But the form that I brought here is a very high dose. So that's also something that we're going to get into. What is the right dose for the person? This is not something that's recommended for everybody. Over here, I have probiotics, which right now are very trending because it does help with gut health. But I also brought yogurt, because this is also a natural food form of those probiotics. And with supplements, it's really important to look at the strain of the cultures that you're taking in the probiotic and also the amount, so the live cultures. If it's 20 billion versus 100 billion cultures, it does make a difference. So we're gonna get into that in a little bit. But also the most common one I would say is the multivitamin. I think everybody takes a multivitamin as an insurance, like a health insurance, to make sure that they have everything they need. With that though, I'll say it doesn't take place of eating healthy, right? So I also brought a comparison here of beautiful fruits and vegetables to just show you that this pill doesn't really replace all of the nutrients that you get in here. The fruits, the vegetables give you fiber, carbohydrates, it gives you also the vitamins and the minerals, but it also helps to maintain a healthy weight, and it's really healthy eating. So it doesn't replace really the pills.
Okay, real food is still king. We got that.
Yes.
Okay, well, here's the thing now. If you have questions about supplements or anything else for our experts, you can always visit our website, allhealthallthetime.com. And we actually have an email question from Anna, and Carla, I hope you can help us out with this. Anna writes, I am trying to lose a few pounds, but I wanted to use apple cider vinegar as an extra boost while I do my exercises. However, are there any bad side effects of apple cider vinegar? So, what do you think, Carla?
So I get this a lot, actually. This is obviously a natural food that we see, apple cider vinegar. For weight loss specifically, it's not gonna make you lose 3, 4, 5 pounds necessarily. The only side effect is that it can cause some erosion in the esophagus because it's very acidic. The name implies it, right? It's acetic acid, the one that has been studied for really blood sugar. For weight loss, there hasn't been any evidence that it's really successful. So to rely on that for weight loss or to call it a healthy habit, I would steer you away from that, just because it doesn't really have much benefit, and the risk again could be the esophagus. Maybe at some point down the line, if you're not diluting it right, it can lead into reflux, and so obviously that's something that we'd like to avoid. So just keep exercising, but also make sure that you're eating healthy, that you're eating good natural food.
Okay, that makes good
sense. Hope I helped.
I'm sure you did. You helped me on that one too. So Chantis, we've been talking about there's not necessarily a supplement for every person. Same thing goes for exercise. I mean, obviously we are all at different levels in our routine, if you will. So I guess talk about that again and the importance of recognizing that there's not one workout for each person, or there actually is a workout for each person. We're not all the same. We're not necessarily all universal when it comes to physical activity and exercise.
Yes, well, thank you for that question. So actually we see that quite a bit, where you think the stereotype is I have to run, I have to do these typical exercises, but really you have to find what works for you, and having that variety so that you keep that spice and motivation to want to keep working out. And when we talk about going back to our intensity level, that low, moderate, and vigorous, that's relative. So that means what may be moderate or vigorous for me may not be for someone someone else. So keeping at it, you'll start to see these improvements. I would say give it a try. You never know if you're gonna like it, and I would say try it a few times before you give up on it, but keep going, because there's really not one fit fits all for fitness, right? We all have to work towards what we like and change it up.
Absolutely. Now, that being said, we know, I think it's pretty common knowledge that physical activity is a necessity if we want to stay healthy these days. But there are specific recommendations, I know, for different groups of people. So, Chantis, tell us about those.
Yes. So for adults specifically, the recommendation is minimum 150 minutes per week. That's 2 hours and 30 minutes, which you can break that down. So you can do 30 minutes 5 days a week. Optimal health, for the peak of your health, we really recommend 300 minutes. That's more like 5 hours. So we probably don't want to start you, if you haven't exercised, you're just coming off the couch, you wouldn't shoot for that 300, you would shoot for that 150. And remember, you can accomplish that 10 minutes at a time if we're talking about that moderate intensity. And then when we talk about children, really the recommendation for that is 60 minutes a day. So kids, naturally, if you see them, they move. They're moving their bodies all the time, and we want them to sit still, but it's really important for them to move for a minimum of 60 minutes a day. And that could be with a variety of activities, including sports, walking, running, playing, and that's the encouragement. We have 60 minutes a day for kids, about 30 minutes 5 days a week for adults minimum.
Okay, and one thing I think it's important to point out is those 30 minutes for adults, and this, you can break that down, right? You can do a 10-minute in the morning, because I think sometimes people might get overwhelmed and think, oh my goodness, I can't do 30 minutes of exercise straight. So,
and it's
reminder.
really about small steps, right? So we wouldn't, if you're just starting out, you wouldn't go and shoot for that 30 minutes if that's not something you're comfortable with or don't feel motivated. We'll shoot for 10 minutes at a time. When you wake up in the morning, there's some calisthenics you can do. You can do some squats. You can do some squats while you're brushing your teeth. So there's creative ways to integrate that when you're at work, finding ways to stand up every 20, 30 minutes, walking around, and then also keep it social, right? So when we think about exercise, it can be intimidating to start on your own when you're not sure. Joining with some friends, finding some groups where you can be physically active with other people.
Absolutely. You just mentioned doing some things at work. Now we saw Carla's props, if you will, the supplements, but you have something fun there in front of you that's purple and round. So
this is actually from my office. So I practice what I preach. So this is a stability disc. So as I mentioned, we really want to increase your physical activity throughout the day. Right, so we don't want that sedentary time to be the majority. Exercising for just 30 minutes at the gym doesn't replace being active throughout the day. So some fun ways that you can do that at your workplace or even at home, there are these fun discs. They're called stability discs, and you can sit on them. So we think we're on a desk, we're kind of like hunched over and we're getting cramped. So this helps us. It's almost very impossible to sit on this and not sit up straight, so it engages your core. And then you can take some breaks and do some chair squats, some leg lifts. I know this sounds silly, but I'm in my business clothes and I do this all the time because it's very easy to just be in front of your computer and kind of be stuck in that jam. So taking 20, 30 minutes off throughout the day at workplace, sitting on this, so you're not even thinking about it. You're engaging your core, you're exercising, you're not even thinking about it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Another thing too is it's great to incorporate different types of exercise, whether obviously at work you can't do too much, but just so you don't get bored, right? That's another thing. Even with food, you know, you get bored sometimes and then you just throw all your healthy habits out the window, right?
Right, and it should be fun. We have to remember, keep it fun. If there's something that you don't enjoy doing, then try something else. I mean, if you love dance around your house while you're cooking, or go do a Zumba class in a gym, go out to a park. I mean, find different things that work for you and change it up. Remember, when we talk about changing your body, adapting that moderate to vigorous, you have to add different stimulus. So you can't always do the same thing. So variety is key if you want to increase your fitness.
And just to add on to that, I would say with nutrition, it's exactly the same.
Variety
is key. If you don't like to eat carrots, then don't eat carrots, but find another maybe orange vegetable or fruit, or find broccoli or kale. Just experiment with different things. One of the things that I like to do sometimes is eating at our restaurants. If you see a salad that has an ingredient that calls your attention, try it out, and then you can copy this recipe at home. And that's just a way to increase your vegetable intake by getting creative and seeing either at restaurants or maybe now social media is one of the best ways to see these healthy food bloggers coming up with recipes. Just finding different ways, copying friends, coworkers, what they're eating, and try something new. Always don't be afraid of trying something new, because what's the worst thing that can happen? You don't like it?
You don't like it? Yeah.
Try something else. And you know, I think the seasons are also a change of seasons. There's new fruits and vegetables in season that you can try.
Yes.
Exercises may be more popular at different times of year. So to me, you can also just kind of take a tip from the calendar maybe and mix things up that way, so you really can't get too bored, right?
And if people are questioning what's the right time for strawberries, for example, or for grapes, or whatever the fruit or vegetable it is, all they have to do really is check their supermarket. Go and see what's on sale. If it's on sale, chances are it's going to be in season, so it's going to be at the peak of the nutrients and also cheaper. So it's going to be great.
Yeah, that makes good sense. And I also just thought too, with exercise, you can always go outside, go inside, mix, change your environment, right?
Exactly. Or even do fun games. Like when you think about family time, like instead of watching a movie, you can play an active game. Or couples, I know you see on Instagram all of the time where couples are together and they have these terrible fails, but they keep trying. And so with a partner, just tag team doing squats and passing a ball. I mean, there's so many things creatively that you can do. It's really impossible to get bored with physical activity and nutrition if you try to come out of your comfort zone, do something different than you would typically do.
That's something that I like to do with my husband. We have date nights at the gym, and then we'll go for dinner. So very casual, but we get that physical activity in together.
Yeah, and you don't feel guilty about eating dinner after you've just done some exercise, right? Or having a treat. So I think that works out great. All right, again, Carla and Chantis, this has been great so far, but we want to make sure people stay with us because after the break, we are going to learn about the guidelines and safeguards in place to help us meet our nutrition and exercise goals. And please be sure to visit our website, allhealthallthetime.com. You can submit questions there to the doctors and the experts. You can find out about every health topic under the sun and learn more about the Health Channel on South Florida PBS. We'll be right back.
Intoning is basically when your child comes in and walks with their feet pointing towards the midline. Most people walk with feet out about 10 degrees, pigeon toes with the foot inside. Intoning is very common. It's by far one of the most common reasons for us to see patients in the office. But most pediatricians do a very good job at telling you if there's something more that needs to be done. It can come from 3 different places. It can come from your thigh bone, your tibia, or your foot. And any one of those things can be curved to cause the foot to progress forward. We now know that this condition improves on its own. It doesn't cause any lasting issues, no arthritis, no other joint issues or bony issues. And the bracing can actually cause weakness that can maybe even delay the progress of them getting better on their own. More than 90% of these kids will outgrow this, absolutely.
Depression is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. You may no longer want to engage in normally enjoyable activities. Depression also creates a longer sense of frequent melancholy. If you feel you are in slow motion or you can't stay focused on an activity, these may also be signs of depression. Depression also causes people to feel tired all the time or the need to sleep too much. Contact your primary care physician if you are experiencing any of these symptoms to determine next steps.
If you're at risk for type 2 diabetes, it is very important to increase your physical activity. Most people need to start slow. Get motivated by doing something you enjoy. Here are 5 simple steps to get moving. Number 5, exercise while you watch TV. You can do arm or leg lifts. Simple weights or canned goods can be used. Number 4, take the stairs. Start slow. It raises your heartbeat and builds muscle strength. It also works your lungs and waistline. Number 3, go outside. The world is your gym. Explore. Do things you enjoy. Discover a new park, play catch, bike. Spending time outside raises your levels of vitamin D and puts you in a better mood. Number 2, dance around your home. It is a great form of exercise and fun. You can burn 300 calories in just 30 minutes. Number 1, walk. Do it alone or with a friend, anywhere, anytime. It is the ideal low-impact exercise. 30 minutes a day makes a big difference.
strength training is important for all of us, but when we're talking particularly about women, it becomes crucial, especially after menopause. If you think about how we use our muscles, we use our muscles for everything. We use them during our daily lives, to go to the grocery store, to carry our kids, to play with them, to do stuff around the house. The more we prepare our muscles for these activities and the more conditioned our muscles are, the better off we will be, and sometimes even prevent injuries from those daily activities. Also, after menopause, when we lose the protective effect of estrogen as the levels go down after menopause, then it becomes more important, because strength training and resistance training can help maintain a healthier bone mineral density and sometimes even be a part of the treatment for osteopenia and osteoporosis. So I think resistance training for women is really important, it's critical.
Welcome back to the Health Channel, all health, all the time. I'm Laura DeAngelis, coming to you from the Baptist Health South Florida studios in Coral Gables. In this hour, we've been talking about nutrition and exercise with Baptist Health South Florida experts Carla Duenas, a registered dietitian, and Chantis Mantilla, an exercise physiologist. It's been great chatting with you both so far. Now, Carla, we've been discussing supplements and how they can fit into our nutrition plan. So how can we be sure that what we're taking is safe, that the labels on these are actually supposed to be there to protect us? Isn't that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's a big risk with supplements, is that the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, doesn't regulate these supplements before they hit the market or even when they are in the market, unless there's some recall or some really high concern. And so for that reason, it's important to check for quality seals. These are independent companies that check randomly these products to make sure that they don't have any toxic metals, for example, or high levels of these toxic metals, that they have what they're supposed to have. So this is one of the concerns sometimes, that a supplement might claim that it has a certain amount of vitamins, but it really doesn't have it once one of these companies tests them out. So I always recommend people to, if they are going to buy a supplement, to at least make sure that it has at least one of these. So the first one is Consumer Labs, or Informed Choice is another good one. NSF, this is more really for sports, but it's a really good one for people that are into competitive sports specifically, that are doing these testings. And then USP, which is the US Pharmacopoeia. So these are really reliable companies, independent companies, that's really important to note, that do testing to make sure that they are as safe as possible, but there's still always risks. So,
okay, we're going to get into a little bit more specific about dosing later, but how do we know for whether it's a pill or a powder if we're taking the right amount? I mean, should we again follow kind of the label, or how does that work?
Right. So with the label will always say how much it has of each ingredient, of the vitamins, of the minerals. But again, there's always a risk that it doesn't have enough, or it has more than what it claims it has. And actually, there's several companies that do these testings, and to be honest, I've never seen it having 100% of what the label says. So that's a little bit of a concern. So if you're taking a supplement for vitamin D, for example, you always check the serving size. It might be from 1 pill to 2 or 3 pills, but following your doctor's advice, that's always the best, because when it comes to supplements, there's different kinds. For example, a multivitamin, they all tend to have the same vitamins and minerals, but not the same amount. So I say that because, for example, if iron can cause some side effects for women, constipation is one of the most common ones. So if you already struggle with constipation, then you need to look for one that doesn't have it. And so that can come into either reducing the dosage or finding just a different supplement. But the dose is very important, because it might even also not be effective at all. People like to take probiotics, for example, and these probiotics, if they're taking a low dose, they might not even cause any effect. So it's very important to follow a doctor's advice.
Okay, that makes good sense. Now, Chantis, there really aren't any bottles on the shelves to read and look for a trusted source, if you will, when it comes to getting our exercise routine going. So first of all, let's get into, again, the different types of exercise that exist.
Yes. So typically what we hear aerobic, strength, flexibility. These are the key terms that we often hear when we think about exercise. So when we hear aerobic, that's really cardiovascular. That means that you're engaging your heart and your lungs. And as you exercise, you actually make them stronger, more efficient, meaning you don't need to use as much oxygen as you're doing different activities. And when you think about when you're walking, playing sports, and engaging in aerobic activity, over time, your body becomes more efficient. And that's when we see that decline in heart rate, decline in blood pressure. So that's aerobic cardiovascular activity. When we think about strength, strength is really when you have an added stimulus, an external stimulus, whether that's your own body weight or using dumbbells and free weights. And that stimulus over time is really working that muscle. You're pushing your muscle to its limits, and over time it becomes stronger, more powerful. These are activities that you can do with your own body weight, as I mentioned, with free weights, with resistance bands. And the last one is flexibility. So that's really just range of motion. And flexibility is quite important when you think about quality of life and being able to maximize the efforts of these strength activities and aerobic activities, and also to safeguard your joints from injury. So these are the key exercises we think of when we think about fitness.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, as far as if we wanted to get started on any of these types of exercises that you just mentioned, what tips can you give us to get that going?
So as I mentioned before, that 150 minutes recommendation, now I mentioned aerobic, strength, it can be quite daunting and overwhelming to get started. So I would say the first step is really start simple, walking around your neighborhood if it's safe, meeting up with some friends, walking in a park. If you have access to a gym or are able to go and open a membership at a gym, also a community center. And you can also engage with your family. And some tips as well, Baptist actually has a variety of free complimentary classes throughout Broward and Miami-Dade. You can go to our website to baptisthealth.net/wellness to check out some of the variety of exercise classes and nutrition workshops that we offer.
Okay, that's good. A lot of resources out there. Now, talking about you don't have to run a marathon to get started, and little baby steps, if you will. I hear a lot about people nowadays looking to maybe walk. I live in New York City, so we walk everywhere. So I'm always encouraging people to try to walk to work, maybe bike to work. So just kind of what are the benefits about doing something as simple as that? Of course, if you're able and you live in a safe area and you're not putting yourself in harm's way, but what about those benefits?
Yeah, so optimally, like thinking of locations like New York, Chicago, big cities, they have the vantage point of walkability, right? Having a safe neighborhood to be able to walk in, sidewalks. I know at times in Miami that can be challenging. So I would say if you're not able to walk to work, maybe during your lunch break or different breaks, being able to join up with some coworkers and walk around your business, or meeting after work and going to a local park to be able to walk. I would also say when you go to the store, you don't have to find the first parking spot. I would say go a little further out. Instead of taking the elevator, take the stairs. Even if you don't take them the full flight of stairs, maybe halfway. So just adding smaller steps throughout your day, including, walking more, parking further, joining up with friends, because again, the social aspect is so important to keep you motivated.
Yeah, and speaking of keeping motivated, I'm going to bring Carla back in here in just a second, but following up on that note, to me, I know there are so many benefits to exercise. But I always feel like it's a good reminder to tell people, this is why you want to exercise. Here's the benefits that you can experience. So why don't you run us through those?
Sure. I mean, there's so many, but some key ones are really preventing chronic diseases, helping to treat chronic diseases. When we say that, we mean type 2 diabetes, heart disease. There's so many different types of diseases that are preventable through exercise and proper nutrition. Also mood, right? That joy factor, positivity. When you exercise, you have more energy, you feel more positive. Maybe tasks that seem more difficult to accomplish seem a little bit easier now because you're empowered. I would say another benefit as well is brain health. So your brain actually functions better when you exercise and eat healthy. Your brain is a machine, just like your body, and that proper fuel with exercise, powerful movements will improve your brain function and also your sleep quality.
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely sleep better when I'm exercising. I know that for sure. It gets the stress out, basically, I think. Carla, let's go back to, again, the supplements, because we kind of started the issue and didn't finish it. But when it comes to the dosage recommendations, why is it so important that we follow them, and how do we make sure that we are doing that?
Well, it's really important because too much of a good thing can be bad, right? So if you're taking multivitamins and you're also eating healthy and your protein powder also has vitamins added to it, it can all still lead to some disease or some condition that we wouldn't want to really be in. So really following the doctor's advice, and by that I mean asking for a micronutrient testing, which is they test for these vitamins and nutrients that you might be deficient. If you don't need it, then why take a supplement? So, but if you do need it, then what is the right dosage for you? If it's, let's say, vitamin D deficiency, which is very common nationwide, but specifically in Florida, we also see that a lot, even though we have some sunlight. There are dosages between 1,000 IUs, for example, or 5,000 IUs, 10,000 IUs. 10,000 IUs, you can see it over the counter. It's not for everybody. It's for that person that's really deficient in vitamin D that will only be taking it probably once a week, not even once a day. Really depends on the doctor, but for that certain period of time, so maybe that's a month or 3 months, once they go back and follow up with their doctor, they check that their vitamin D levels are back to normal, then they would maybe go back to 5,000 or 1,000 IUs to just keep it at a normal healthy level. But the dosage is very important because there's so many different levels of these vitamins over the counter. So just always follow a physician's advice or a dietitian that can also, we can check a person's diet and assess to see if they really have a need, they're not consuming enough calcium or enough magnesium, for example. We can assess the diet for that and make recommendations based on that.
And also on the air of caution with that, it's also important to speak with your physician, because if you're on prescription medication for any reason, there's been news, on and off throughout the years that you want to make sure you're not taking a supplement that may have a contraindication, correct?
Absolutely. That's actually one of the main concerns with supplements, is that even herbal products, they can have interactions with different medications. Birth control, for example, is one of those that can be affected. Heart medications like blood pressure medications, antidepressants, specifically with herbal products, can interact and cause a negative effect. So it's very important that when you check your doctor, when you go for your follow-up with your physician, that you tell them, I'm taking XYZ medication and I'm also taking a supplement. Supplements are always important because sometimes we think, I'm taking a tea, but that tea is St. John's wort, for example, which has been known to cause different interactions. So very important that you always disclose that information with your doctor and your dietitian as well.
Okay. Very briefly, speaking on the air of caution, Chantis, also important, exercise is important, but for vigorous exercisers, also important to take a rest day, right?
Yes.
At least one a week.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically rest is the opportunity for your body to recover. So you need that rest period for your muscles to actually build and become stronger. So exercising and powering through every single day, you may start to see counter effects. You may start to feel fatigue, not being able to perform as much. So it's key to give yourself not only a physical rest, but also a mental rest, at least once a week.
Absolutely. Okay, ladies, don't go away. We're going to continue a little bit more here, and everyone else, please stay with us, because our Baptist Health South Florida experts will have some more motivation to help you meet your nutrition and exercise needs. So please be sure to stay with us, and don't forget to visit our website anytime, allhealthallthetime.com, for questions to the doctors and to find out more about the Health Channel here on South Florida PBS. Stay with us.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks for teaching me about teamwork and leadership.
Thanks for showing me that sports help me stay healthy and do well in school.
And thank you for teaching me about concussion.
Letting me know that I should tell you if I think I have a concussion. And how to protect my head and brain. Because one day,
I want to be a teacher,
an astronaut, scientist, or a coach, just like you. Thank you for protecting my future.
Migraines are pulsating headaches that often occur on one side of the head. If you suffer from migraines, you're familiar with the throbbing, one-sided pain that makes you sensitive to light and noise and causes nausea or vomiting. Some home remedies for migraine pain include changing your diet, monitoring triggers, scalp massages, using an ice pack, anti-inflammatory herbs like peppermint or chamomile, and staying hydrated. Contact your primary care physician about treatment options available to you today.
When it comes to sexual violence, it's important to know the facts. But there are just a few other things you should know. Sexual violence includes rape and any other unwanted sexual contact or experience. About 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual violence in the form of physical contact at some point in their lives. Violence starts early. Before the age of 18, 8.5 million women first experienced rape. Victims of sexual violence can experience depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Sexual violence impacts everyone. Its effects ripple through families, neighborhoods, and workplaces. But we all play a role in its prevention. Public health, businesses, schools, communities, and you can work together to stop sexual violence from happening in the first place.
Dementia is not a specific disease. It's an overall term that describes a wide range of symptoms associated with a decline in memory or other thinking skills, severe enough to reduce a person's ability to perform everyday activities. While symptoms of dementia can vary greatly, at least 2 of the following must be significantly impaired to be considered dementia: memory, communication and anguish, ability to pay attention, reasoning and judgment, visual perception. If you feel like you or someone in your family might be experiencing these symptoms, contact your primary care physician so that an evaluation can be performed.
Hello everyone, you're watching the Health Channel, all health, all the time. I'm Laura DeAngelis, and we are winding down this hour's discussion with Carla Duenas, a registered dietitian, and Chantis Mantilla, an exercise physiologist. They're colleagues at Baptist Health South Florida. Now you have both offered so much information this hour when it comes to nutrition, making sense of supplements, ways to exercise. So I think now's a great time to kind of bring it all home, if you want to say that. And one thing, making sense out of all this, it seems that we are bombarded on a daily basis about what's good for us, and then the next day it's not so good for us. And it seems like the information is changing all the time. So Carla, let's start with you. That being said, knowing there's a lot of different information coming at us at all levels and social media channels, what would you say our viewers should know about how supplements fit into our overall plan, especially with all this information, all the ads, all the infomercials? What would you like them to know?
Well, first, it would be really focusing on the diet quality. Besides thinking of should you take a supplement or a multivitamin or vitamin A, whatever it is, think about how is your plate? Do you have fruits? Are you eating vegetables? Start there first. Check with your doctor if you really have a deficiency, there's a need for any of these vitamins and minerals that you need, then look to supplement. And then you would want to check also for the effectiveness of it. Has it really been proven to work? This is something that your doctor or your dietitian will be able to tell you. There's a lot of products out there in the market costing a lot of money that really don't have any significant evidence to show that it helps either for weight loss or for health in general. And then the last thing always, if you're gonna buy a supplement, check for that seal. There's so many out there that don't have it because obviously these cost money to the companies, but the company that has a good reputable product is going to be concerned also for the safety of it. So check for these 4 seals that we talked about earlier, and also follow up with your doctor. Always, don't forget that.
Absolutely, it makes good sense. And Chantis, let me turn to you now, kind of also bringing things together. We've talked about different types of exercise and all the different activity levels and ways that we can do that, but what other words of inspiration might you be able to offer to a viewer who, maybe he or she is home right now and they're just disappointed in themselves? They feel like they haven't reached a goal, or they feel like they're not stacking up to the competition at the gym that they go to. What would you just like to say to them?
Right. Well, I guess the main thing is keep at it, right? So sometimes, like as I mentioned, we have this misconception of what a fit body should look like. Stop thinking about the should and think more about the way you feel. How do you feel versus how do you look? Right? And accepting where you are in the now, you're working towards a goal. So taking that moment for yourself and having gratitude for your body, for the ability of what you can do. And then again, going back to taking those small steps, walking, jogging around your neighborhood or local park, joining a gym, community center. Keep it social. If you need that motivation and encouragement, I'm sure there's someone else that feels the same way, or working with a friend that pushes you beyond your limits. So I would say keep at it and have fun. Have fun. If if you enjoy it, you're gonna keep doing it. I mean, I personally love to dance. So when I dance, I don't feel like I'm exercising. I love yoga, but I figured all these things out over time, what works for me and what doesn't. And so I would say keep at it, keep it social, and keep it fun.
Yeah, sounds like good advice to me. Now, let's move on to one other thing. We live, no doubt, in a fast-paced world, right? So we're always on the go. We are time crunched, never have time to really take care of ourselves. So Carla, let's go back to you on this. First of all, for people in this time crunched world, what smart decisions can we make for ourselves when it comes to nutrition and trying to eat healthy, even if it's on the go and when we're really having just the craziest of days?
Yes, so something that will help for that is definitely planning ahead. Thinking of tomorrow, thinking of next week. How can you make sure that you're gonna eat healthy is having that food with you. If you don't have it and you're starving, you're not gonna make the healthiest decision. So always try to think ahead. If you can cook, great. If you can't, there's tons of different pre-prepared foods that you can buy and kind of meal prep, assemble them quickly into Tupperwares, or different products that don't require refrigeration that you can take with you in your purse. That's the key, just always having that in there. And also remembering that you don't have to eat perfect or eat healthy all the time, every single time to be a healthy person or have a healthy lifestyle. It's really about balance. So choosing healthy foods most of the time. That's what I always like to ask people is what are you eating most of the time? That's what's going to make the difference in the long term.
Absolutely. And you know, you talk about prep and you hear about meal prep, food prep. I know one thing for me that works is I try on a Saturday or Sunday to chop up raw vegetables for the week and like put them in little containers. So I know at least one snack during the day is going to be a vegetable versus maybe something not so healthy. And I also try to keep maybe a protein bar with me, so if I do get hunger pangs, I'm not running to the vending machine, right? So a little bit, I guess, of prep, like you said, can go a long way.
Yes, and people think that prepping can take a long time, especially if it's a Saturday or a Sunday. I do the same. I typically spend maybe Sunday 4 hours. But side note to that is the more you do it, the better you get. Yeah. So the more time you save. But they think that is they spend the entire day, they're wasting time. But in reality, it saves you time throughout the week because then you don't have the stress or you don't have to spend that time every single day having to think of what to eat and when or how you're gonna make it. So it really relieves stress and saves you time in the long run. There are tons of ideas out there. Overnight oats is one of them that you can make a big batch and then you have breakfast for the entire week. And so there's a lot of different ideas and ways to go around it. You don't have to be the best cook because disclaimer, I'm not.
Me neither. That's good.
But it's just thinking ahead, planning ahead of time.
And adding to that for exercise, same way. So if you don't have your workout clothes in your car, you may not do it. So I always have a bag. I'm ready to go in my car. You never know if you want to go to the gym after. It tends to be if you do it early, first thing in the morning, you knock it out, you have that energy for the day. But being prepared, so have a gym bag in your car and always be ready to be active.
Yeah, I love that idea. And following up on that another step further for business travelers, you know, a lot of people are on the road. I'm on the road right now this week. So what advice do you have for them? I mean, for me, it's like I definitely have to make sure I've got a sports bra and a pair of shorts in the bag, just what I want to go work out. So what other advice do you have for folks who are traveling?
Yeah, so I'd say always take a pair of sneakers. You never know where you're going to go. Sneaker is your best tool. I would say that first. And then also when you're booking your hotel, you have control for the most part of where you're staying, trying to see if there's a smaller gym, something accessible within the hotel that you can actually use and getting that, again, knocked out first thing in the morning, getting 20 minutes, 30 minutes in. You can also take things like resistance bands or even a yoga mat with you and exercise in your room. If you really don't want to go to the gym, you can do some wall push-ups, you can do some squats, some quick circuits in your room.
Yeah, nobody even has to see you doing it.
Exactly, no one has to see you do it.
Privacy of your room. And I always love to say, you know, 0 minutes is worse than 5 minutes of anything, or 10 minutes of something is better than sitting on the couch, right?
Right, and just increasing your physical activity throughout the day. So many times we get bogged down by that, like 30 minutes, 1 hour that you need to go to the gym, but no, just throughout the day, think, should I be sitting now? Could I stand? Could I walk a little bit further? So just thinking small, easy steps of how you can start to increase physical activity throughout the day.
Makes good sense. And you know, we are all human, so we all have our slip-ups, we all have our bad days. So, you know, Carla, when it comes to our diet, I mean, look, there are days we all go a little crazy. It might be a birthday or a special occasion. We want to have an extra glass of wine, or we might have dessert more than once in a day. I mean, these things happen. So what would you also say to people about, you know, okay, one bad day doesn't ruin a whole effort, if you will, of trying to really come up with a healthy lifestyle to follow?
Yeah, it really does. And like I said, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to make healthier choices every chance that you get. So if you ate that dessert, you ate more than what you had to, then maybe tomorrow try to be more mindful about that and eat a smaller piece of chocolate. Or if you're craving chocolate every single time, or ice cream, for example, try to find replacements so that's something sweet that's gonna kill that craving, but obviously not give you all those calories. Exercise comes in handy, especially I'm thinking of like holidays, for example, or big meals, or now that, coming in the summer, there's big barbecues and a lot of high calorie foods. Just always go back to thinking about those 5 food groups: the fruits, the vegetables, carbohydrate, protein, grains, protein, and dairy. If the food fits those food groups, it's gonna be healthy. So make sure that you include more of those foods, less of the processed ones. And I say that especially if you're eating at a restaurant or a party, you can always fit food within that category, and that's eating healthy.
Yeah, that makes good sense. And on a similar vein here, Chantis, there may be a week where people feel discouraged again because I haven't gone to the gym for 3 days, so I just won't go this week. And again, you're just giving up on yourself, which isn't what we want people to do, right? I mean, do what you can.
Right, exactly. And we get into this loop of like, I should have, I could have, I would have. Forget about it. It happened. It's the past. It doesn't exist anymore. So focus on the present, focus on this moment, and go back to your goal, that what and that why, making sure that your goal is realistic, something you can accomplish, and rooted in a positive way. So not thinking because I want to be beautiful, because I want to lose weight. Those aren't positive. You are beautiful. Like, not thinking about that, but more about how you feel, working towards a goal. Like, you want to be healthier, you want to be stronger, and just using that as your focus and forgetting about the past. You're in the here, you're in the now.
I love it. I love all the positivity I'm hearing. Okay, so we are actually winding down here, but again, I want to give each of you a last chance to just leave one final thought, if you will, with our viewers today. So Carla, we'll start with you.
Just improve the quality of your food, of the plate that you're eating right there at that moment. If you didn't eat good that first time, just remember you have the next meal. You got to eat the next time. So make sure that choice is a better choice. And then check with your doctor, your dietitian, to see if you need that supplement and that it's a high quality one.
Great. And Chantis, your final words of wisdom for us.
And going off of that, just as much as we need to eat, we need to move, right? That's part of our everyday life. So small steps to increasing that movement, whether it's doing some squats when you're brushing your teeth or some push-ups in the shower, find creative ways for you to be more active and move throughout the day.
All right, well, Chantis and Carla, I could honestly talk health and nutrition, all day long, and fitness and exercise, but it's been a great hour just getting your tips and lots of motivation, and I think we're all in store now for a great season ahead. We got grilling season starting and outdoor summer activities, so I appreciate you both being here, and we look forward to seeing you again in the future.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
For having us.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you all for watching the Health Channel, all health, all the time. There is a brand new hour and a brand new topic ahead, so please be sure to come back and also visit our website anytime, allhealthallthetime.com. You can submit questions for our doctors and experts. You can learn about health topics from A to Z and all about this Health Channel on South Florida PBS. I'm Laura DeAngelis. I'll see you next time.